Wrestling fans, Pro Wrestle Machine is back with a report from the New Japan Pro Wrestling Tokyo Dome show from 2012. Let's dive in. From Dave Meltzer. New Japan Pro Wrestling's 40th anniversary year opened with its biggest show of the year, the annual January 4th Wrestle Kingdom show at the Tokyo Dome, the Japanese equivalent to WrestleMania. IWGP champion Hiroshi Tanahashi, on the one-year anniversary of his starting his current title reign by beating Satoshi Kojima at the Dome, set the company's all-time record with his 11th title defense, pinning Minoru Suzuki in the main event before 23,000 fans, announced as 43,000. The show in many ways is like a WrestleMania where there are so many big matches that top guys end up getting limited time, and in many ways, the match caliber isn't as good as a lot of the major arena shows during the year. But even so, this was a good show. The crowd was far from the near sellouts that were almost automatic from the company's second event at the Tokyo Dome in 1990 until business really started falling in 2002. But it was the third best crowd of the company's last 8 shows at the Dome. With the exception of the 2009 show where Tanahashi represented New Japan in chasing All Japan's legendary Keiji Muto, who had a long run with New Japan's IWGP title, a far stronger main event storyline than anything this year, it was the best crowd since 2006. And that crowd for a show headlined by Brock Lesnar vs. Shinsuke Nakamura was heavily papered. Not everything worked. Kazuchika Okada was sent to TNA to gain international experience, and then largely forgotten past a brief angle as Samoa Joe's sidekick. In that one, he dressed up like Kato from the Green Hornet cartoons, was given the name Okado, and was involved in a terrible angle with the Pope. He returned with bleached blonde hair, doing a Playboy gimmick as Rainmaker Kazuchika Okada. With the idea in a battle of returnees, he'd quickly squash Yoshihashi Nobuo Yoshihashi, who has been in CMLL actually wrestling a full schedule and getting better. He did beat Yoshihashi quickly, but did not look impressive in doing so. At the end of the show, after Tanahashi beat Suzuki, he came out and issued a challenge for a title match. Because of how unimpressive he had looked in his return, the people booed the angle and weren't accepting of it at all. Okada's dye job looked amateur, and he was completely unconvincing as this new cocky playboy. When he mocked Tanahashi's winning pose, it got little heat. He was booed on the way out, but it didn't feel like the right kind of heat. Both tag team titles changed hands. As expected, Satoshi Kojima and Hiroshi Tanahashi ended the long reign of Giant Bernard and Carl Anderson as IWGP Tag Team Champions, which dated back to June 19, 2010. The 564-day reign was the longest in the history of the championship. Kojima and Tenzan were the company's hottest tag team before Kojima left the promotion to join All Japan. In fact, their July 21, 2000 to September 23, 2001 title reign of 430 days was the record setter at the time, and still the third longest in history. Tenzan and Masahiro Chono broke the record at 446 days in 2002 to 2003. When Kojima returned for his big singles run in 2010, the Kojima vs. Tenzan feud seemed like a natural, as did making up and reforming their team. The other title change saw Prince Devitt and Ryusuke Taguchi win the IWGP Junior Tag titles for the fourth time, beating Davey Richards and Rocky Romero. Devitt and Taguchi tied Geto and Jado for the most title reigns in history. But the main theme of the show was New Japan vs. Outsiders. Suzuki was a free agent who they gave a winning streak to, the shooting pioneer who beat one person after another with his Karl Gotch pile driver. Tetsuya Naito, New Japan's hope to be the next Tanahashi, lost to Muto in what was billed as Wrestling Genius vs. Wrestling Genius. In the sense it was pushed as the smartest in-ring worker of the young generation against the smartest of the old generation. Pro Wrestling Noah's combination of GHC champion Go Shiozaki and Namichi Marufuji beat New Japan as Shinsuke Nakamura and Toru Yano. The match was a disappointment, missing something, but they pushed the idea of a Nakamura vs. Marufuji program for this year. Togi Makabe, New Japan's top brawler, beat free agent Yoshihiro Takayama, who is a regular with Noah. New Japan's Hiroki Goto beat All Japan's Takashi Sugiura in a stiff match. And in a match that ended up in a disaster, All Japan's MMA combination of Masakatsu Funaki and Masayuki Kono beat New Japan's Yuji Nagata and Wataru Inoue. The idea was to start a Funaki vs. Nagata series. However, during the match, when Nagata delivered a running knee into the corner, he landed way too stiff, breaking not only Funaki's left orbital bone, but his nose and other bones, crushing the left side of his face. Funaki needs surgery and will be out of action for 6 months. This is a major blow, as it not only delays the program, but will force All Japan into making major changes for this year, as Funaki was a key part of their plans, in particular the Champion Carnival tournament in April. While most sports are declining in popularity in Japan, New Japan Pro Wrestling has started making small steps in growing over the past 3 years. with Tanahashi bringing in a new audience. Tanahashi has the aura of a top guy when you see him on New Japan shows, but more like a Bret Hart or a John Cena, as opposed to a Ric Flair or a Hulk Hogan or a Mitsuharu Misawa, Muto or Kenta Kobashi. But in the ring he delivers the long world title match at the end of every pay-per-view show, usually 4 stars or better, although he will be hard-pressed next time. The next pay-per-view show will be on February 12 from Osaka Furitsu Gym, with Tanahashi vs Okada for the title as the main event, plus rematches of both tag title bouts, with Tenzan and Kojima vs Bernard and Anderson and Devitt and Taguchi vs Romero and Richards. In addition, Masato Tanaka defends the IC title against Goto. Match 1. Tama Tonga and Captain New Japan, Hideo Saito as a babyface, beat Kosuke Miami and Tomoaki Honma in 8:47 when Tonga pinned Mikami in the dark match. Match 2. Prince Devitt and Ryusuke Taguchi beat Davey Richards and Rocky Romero in 12:44 to win the IWGP Junior Tag titles. Devitt and Taguchi's name as a team is Apollo 55, and they came out wearing cheap-looking astronaut costumes. I guess it sounded like a good idea on paper. Pretty much a million moves with, for the most part, almost flawless execution. Romero and Richards did a double tope to open. Richards put Taguchi in a combination Texas cloverleaf and hammerlock until Devitt saved. Devitt and Taguchi did a double running flip dove over the top. Taguchi did a twisting splash on Romero and Devitt did double foot stomp on him, but Richards saved. Richards put Taguchi on his shoulders and Romero came off the top with a knee. Devitt did a double foot stomp on Richards to break up the pin. At another point, Romero gave Devitt a Frankensteiner off the top rope, while in the opposite corner, Richards gave Taguchi a superplex followed by a second suplex, but Devitt saved. The finish saw Richards kick Taguchi in the head twice and went for a power bomb, which Taguchi turned into a Toyota roll-up for the pin. 4 stars. Match 3. Jushin Liger and Tiger Mask and Kushida and Mascara Dorada beat Atlantis and Valiente and Taka Michinoku and Taichi in 10:18. This was a fun lucha libre style match. Liger came out in an all-white costume, looking like a giant icicle. He also got one of the biggest reactions on the show as people see him as a legend. It pushed the idea that Liger was the New Japan Junior legend and Atlantis, now as 49, was pushed as Mr. CMLL, a living legend, like someone like Peter Aerts of his world. Liger and Kushida did the old Mascara's brothers double cross chop on Taichi and Michinoku, which is a spot that Japanese fans love because it's Mil Mascaras of the 70s. The heels started working over Liger. Taichi first tried to unmask Liger, but Tiger Mask saved. Taichi then tried to unmask Tiger Mask. Then he went after Dorada's mask but was stopped. At one point Taichi used an iron claw to the groin of Kushida. The ref broke that up as well, stating it was not a legal hold. Thank God, because that's not comfortable to watch. Even it was Fritz von Erich's finishing move. That would be used to blow off feuds. Others involved are the unstoppable Johnny Valentine and Heen Kiniski. Then we had the dive sequence with Liger doing a plancha on Taichi, Atlantis with a tope on both, Tiger Mask a plancha on all three, Michinoku with his old springboard plancha from his heyday, and Kushida with a twisting plancha on everyone. Dorada then did a running twisting dive on everyone. Valiente then botched his spot, and changed to doing an Asai moonsault on everyone. Atlantis did 2 spinning backbreakers on Tiger Mask and put him in the torture rack, but Liger saved. Valiente did a tombstone into a codebreaker on Liger for a near fall. He did a moonsault, but Liger got his feet up, and Liger used a Liger bomb followed by a brainbuster on Valiente for the pin. 3 3/4 stars. Match 4. Kazuchika Okada beat Yoshihashi in 4:37 after a clothesline. With his bad-looking hair dye job, Okada looked like a male Shinobu Kondori, a butch women's wrestling star of the 90s. Okada is tall for a Japanese guy, maybe 6'3", and does a high dropkick, so he's a good athlete. But he didn't put it together here. Okada won after a missile dropkick, an emerald Frasian, and a lariat. Nobody expected Yoshihashi to be pinned after that lariat, and the match had built up no momentum. It was supposed to be this dominant win but came across as anything but. 1 star. Match 5. Masakatsu Funaki and Masayuki Kono All Japan beat Yuji Nagata and Wataru Inoue in 6:34. Funaki and Kono came out with their All Japan flag. This was Funaki's first time back in New Japan since he quit the promotion to join the UWF in the late 80s. They pushed that he was this teenage superstar in New Japan at one point. He got a star reaction coming back. Focus was Funaki versus Nagata. Nagata is so freaking awesome, even at almost 44. He is one of the best workers in the world and easily the most underrated great worker of the last decade. Nagata's facials when he got Funaki in the Nagata armlock were great, and the crowd was going crazy at that point until Kono saved. Funaki and Inoue went back and forth before Funaki used a high kick and Inoue sold it like he was knocked out and got the pin. Post-match saw Funaki, whose left eye was swollen from the orbital break and whose nose was bleeding badly, start slapping Nagata and head-butted him as they did a pull-apart. 3 stars. Shelton Benjamin and MVP beat Masato Tanaka and Yujiro Takahashi in 9:41. Geto and Jado came out with Tanaka and Takahashi as they are all part of the Complete Players, a takeoff on ECW's Impact Players. Benjamin looked good here and got over. Tanaka at one point came off the top rope with a plancha to the floor, putting MVP through a table. Tanaka also used kendo stick shots on MVP's body and also attacked Benjamin. Benjamin at one point did a flip dive on Geto and Jado. MVP did 3 straight German suplexes on Takahashi. Tanaka used the brainbuster on MVP but Benjamin saved. Takahashi used a German suplex on MVP for a near fall. MVP had Takahashi in a hammerlock crossface when Geto and Jado got up on the apron. MVP let go and knocked them off the apron. Benjamin did his running jump to the top rope with a belly-to-belly suplex on Takahashi and then used the downward spiral on Takahashi. MVP then put Takahashi in the crossface for the submission. 3¼ stars. Match 7. Satoshi Kojima and Hiroshi Tenzan beat Giant Bernard and Carl Anderson in 12:40. Kojima and Tenzan came from different sides of the stage, symbolically like they had taken long separate roads and were now back together, meeting at the center and shaking hands. Crowd was really into them as a team. A funny entrance saw Anderson come out with a machine gun, that's his nickname, and started firing supposed shots at the video wall. The video wall showed the Tokyo Sports Awards where he and Bernard didn't win Tag Team of the Year. Anderson had complained long and loud how Tokyo Sports robbed them since they were both the GHC and IWGP tag champs at the same time, but they picked Yuji Okabayashi and Daisuke Sekimoto, who only held All Japan's secondary All Asia tag titles this past year. All action, very good match. Kojima now does the Kobashi style chops in the corner over and over on both guys. Near fall after near fall. Bernard used a last ride power bomb on Tenzan but he kicked out. Bernard set up the Bernard driver, but Tenzan escaped. Kojima nailed Bernard with the rabbit lariat. Kojima and Tenzan delivered the 3D to Anderson, and then Kojima knocked Bernard down with a lariat, and Tenzan followed with a moonsault on Bernard for the title win. All 4 shook hands after the match. Considering how banged up Kojima and Tenzan are at this stage of their careers, you really can't ask for more from them. 3 stars half. Match 8. Hiroki Goto pinned Takashi Sugiura, NOAH, in 12:25. Goto came out wearing a pink wig that went to the ground. This was slower than the previous matches, but they went back and forth with the hard elbows standing. Sugiura's big spot was a German suplex into the corner. Sugiura is one of these who in his face just makes it seem like his body is hurting all the time, but he's got that amateur wrestling mentality of fighting through it and knowing nothing but stiff work. Last few minutes were really good. Sugiura used a German suplex and a shining wizard for near falls. He used a dragon suplex as well. He went for the Olympic slam but Goto arm dragged his way out of it. Sugiura used hard elbows and then hard slaps. Goto back with a headbutt and a back suplex, a killer lariat, a headbutt and a short lariat, but Sugiura kicked out. Goto won with the Shoten Kai, which is like Matt Morgan's elevator move. 3 stars half. Match 9. Togi Makabe pinned Yoshihiro Takayama, free agent / Noah, in 9:15. Takayama is completely physically beaten down. He looks totally out of shape, like he's too beat up to train. He used to have a body when he first started. But he's a legend and because he's big, has been a star forever, is protected in booking, and used to be great, he's still effective to make a big match. Takayama did a dropkick which got a reaction from the crowd. He did a double arm suplex into an armbar, but Makabe made the ropes. Takayama finally hit his signature German suplex, then went for a second but Makabe broke it, throwing a flurry of backward elbows and used a German suplex of his own for a near fall. Makabe used a German superplex which Takayama fought, but Makabe finally got it, and then came off the top with the King Kong knee drop for the pin. 2 stars. Match 10. Go Shiozaki and Namichi Marufuji NOAH beat Shinsuke Nakamura and Toru Yano in 15:10. Yano's gimmick is he tries to cut opponent's hair and went for it with Shiozaki but he got away. Yano undid the padding in one of the corner turnbuckles and whipped Marufuji's back into it. Yano followed with a brainbuster for a near fall. They went back and forth but it never got that heat. Marufuji isn't nearly what he was before his missing so much time this year with injuries. Shiozaki is getting pushed as GHC champion, and he's a technically good wrestler but he's missing superstar charisma at this point. Marufuji did a springboard coast-to-coast dropkick on Nakamura while Shiozaki pinned Yano after the Go Flasher. Marufuji and Nakamura did a post-match stare-down where they were pressing heads on each other, so this should continue. 2 3/4 stars. Match 11. Keiji Muto All Japan, pinned Tetsuya Naito in 22:35. Muto got the biggest reaction of anyone on the show. They did a slow start with a long headlock, one high spot 5 minutes and back to the headlock forever. This was the Muto doing Johnny Valentine special. Nothing happened early except Muto doing like a million dragon screws and low dropkicks to Naito's knee. It's so redundant, but suddenly, at 15 minutes, the crowd was really into everything. It was probably the second most compelling match on the show, behind only the main event. Muto also had long figure 4 spots. When you watch how Muto does so few moves and every move is so over, it really shows how big that first Takata match was with the Dragon Screw and figure 4, because we're 16.5 years later and every time he does a move from that match people react. Naito did a spin kick after blocking a Dragon Screw. Muto tried another one but Naito hit the Enzuigiri. He tried to pick Muto up but he collapsed under the weight because of knee damage. He got a Frankensteiner off the top, an Enzuigiri and German suplex for near falls before missing the Stardust Press. Muto hit 2 Shining Wizards and the Dragon Screw. Then Muto did a Shining Wizard to the back. Naito got a surprise front rolling cradle for a near fall. Muto came back with another dropkick to the right knee. He went for another Shining Wizard, but it was blocked and Naito used a rolling reverse cradle and bridge for a near fall. Muto came back with a lateral guillotine and another Shining Wizard, and then another Shining Wizard, but Naito kicked out. Muto then used a backbreaker and got the pin after a moonsault. The crowd seeing Muto, at 49 doing a moonsault, went pretty wild. Muto offered Naito a handshake, but Naito refused, and left limping. Naito walked to the back like losing was a complete disgrace, and it was like he had lost the biggest match of his career. 3 1/4 stars. Match 12. Hiroshi Tanahashi retained the IWGP Heavyweight title pinning Minoru Suzuki, free agent, in 25:59. In the pre-match video they showed shots of Suzuki from the 80s having left New Japan with Funaki to train under Karl Gotch. They built to showing the angle for this match where the two shook hands and then Suzuki snapped and choked him out. I really also like how, and they do this every pay-per-view show, before the IWGP title match, they on the screen show a series of photos of the legends who have held the title, making the belt seem important, showing people like Inoki, Fujinami, Vader, Lesnar, Sap, Muto, Hashimoto, Chono to the present. They started both throwing punches working the body. Suzuki did an abdominal stretch on the top rope but had to break because it was on the ropes. He threw a running kick that knocked Suzuki off the top rope to the floor. Tanahashi back with a dropkick sending Suzuki out of the ring, but missed a dive. Suzuki started choking on the floor. Tanahashi escaped the choke. Suzuki teased a Gotch piledriver on the floor but Tanahashi backdropped out of it. Suzuki laid him out with a running kick and teased that Tanahashi would lose the title via countout. You can do that here, but Tanahashi beat the count. Suzuki did some Fujiwara-style headbutts. At another point Tanahashi tried to send Suzuki into the ropes but Suzuki wouldn't go, which is the he's not doing pro wrestling spot that works for him and gets people into the idea his match is serious. It wouldn't work for others elsewhere, but you can feel the difference when he does it. Tanahashi was throwing weak punches and Suzuki was laughing at him. Tanahashi was back with a crossbody off the middle rope, flying forearm and swanton for a near fall. Suzuki then hit an awesome dropkick that shocked the crowd. Tanahashi did a spectacular plancha outside the ring and almost overshot Suzuki on the floor. He landed bad and was bleeding from the mouth, which may have been from the dropkick earlier. They teased Suzuki being counted out. As Suzuki came through the ropes, he snatched an armbar in the ropes. They had to break at 5. Tanahashi went for a dragon screw but Suzuki blocked it and turned it into an armbar, which was an awesome spot. Suzuki threw knee after knee in the corner but missed a running kick. Tanahashi did another crossbody off the top, went for the high fly flow but Suzuki got his knees up. Suzuki was slapping the hell out of Tanahashi, and Tanahashi would try and fire back but Suzuki would do the Anderson Silva quick head movement to make him look foolish. He got a choke twice. On the second one, he let go to do the Gotch piledriver. Tanahashi kicked out at 2. Really they spent months building up this spot since that was the move Suzuki used to beat everyone on the way to his shot. Tanahashi ducked a punch and hit a dragon suplex, and then did a falcon arrow into a dragon suplex for a near fall. Tanahashi went for another high fly flow but Suzuki kicked out. They were on their knees trading punches, a sick headbutt by Suzuki, and slaps. This time Tanahashi started finally getting the better of the slaps and landed 2 big shots, then blocked a choke attempt and at the necktie lariat, sling blade. Tanahashi went up and hit a high fly flow to the back, then went back up to the top for a high fly flow to the front and got the pin. This wasn't as good as some of Tanahashi's defenses in recent months with Naito, Nakamura and Nagata, but every move in this match counted and both guys did their unique styles. Not a match of the year, but an excellent Big Show world title match. 4 stars.